Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a great day. And come to think of it, I hope I'm having a great day wherever I am, too. All right, so today we're going to be talking about theme and kind of broadening our understanding of what that means. So our objective for today is I will be able to find evidence from a text to support a theme. So it's a little bit of what we've already done, but we're going to kind of build on that. Our language objective, I will be able to support theme with evidence. The theme blank is shown through the character's speech, actions, thoughts, etc. For example, when the story has the theme of blank because. Okay, so a little bit of review. Going back to Paperback Princess and Those Shoes, theme is an idea or a topic that keeps coming up in a story. So some examples of themes might be conformity or identity or perseverance or acceptance or good versus evil. But what we want to do is kind of take that idea a step further, and we want to ask ourselves, okay, if these are the topics that are coming up, what is the author saying about those topics? Okay, what is the author's message? So for example, we might have a theme of generosity in Those Shoes. The main character, Jeremy, he knows he should give the shoes to Antonio, but he's so conflicted and he stays awake for hours at night thinking, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? So what we might say is that the author's message is that a theme in Those Shoes might be how hard it is to sometimes be generous. Even though we know it's the right thing to do, we still struggle to make the right decision. So you see what we did there? We identified the topics. These are topics that came up in this story. And then we chose one and said, okay, what is the author saying about that? So if generosity was the theme, what is the author saying about generosity? What does the author say about identity? What does the author say about conformity? So we're kind of broadening it a little bit. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is take 10 minutes at your table to review the story and consider what the theme of Two Kinds and the message might be. So what you're going to do first is you're going to simply brainstorm a list of topics that came up in the story. Maybe you want to write about, how the mom was jealous, so jealousy. Or maybe you want to talk about identity. Or maybe you want to mention competition. So there's a lot of different topics that came up in the story. So go ahead and generate a list. And then, as a group, have a conversation about which one of those topics has the best evidence. Which one could you most easily prove that that is a theme of the story based on evidence? So right now, go ahead and pause the video, have a chat with your table group about which topics came up in the story and what the author might be saying about them and which one has the most evidence. Okay, so hopefully you guys at your table, you came up with a theme that had evidence to support it. Now, different tables probably came up with different themes, and that's not really a problem. So each table can probably come up with, they may have the same theme or they may have a different theme. The point is, can you prove it, right? Can you find the evidence to support what your group found? So hopefully you have this handout, the ladder of abstraction. So what it is just a way to kind of visually represent, here's the theme and here's the evidence that we have to support it. So ladders, you can go up a ladder and down a ladder. So let's say we're starting at the top of the ladder. We have theme at the top of the ladder, and you can write in what your team decided to focus on for a theme. So let's say it was perseverance. So you'd write perseverance on the top line, and then underneath, of course, I'm sure you guessed it, you're going to write, where do you find that in the story? Can you prove that with evidence from the story? And there's a little P on the side for paragraph. Which paragraph did you find that proof in? You can also, in the future, start at the bottom and say, hey, here's these evidence. This is what we see in the story. Putting all that evidence together, here's what we feel like the theme is, okay? So for today, we'll start with theme and then put the evidence in, but just so you know that in the future, you can go backwards on the ladder. You can go up the ladder instead of just down. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video again, have a chat with your group, write in what your theme is and write the evidence. When you guys are all finished, you can click the slideshow again and come back and do some more. Okay, so this is the last thing that we're going to do today, and this is like the big thing that we've been working towards for the last 2 weeks. So there's this acronym called TIQA, and it's just an acronym for theme, introducing the evidence, using a quote, and analyzing, okay? So what we're going to be doing is looking at a paragraph, a TIQA paragraph. And in every TIQA paragraph, they follow the same format. They always have a thesis statement. For example, one theme of those shoes is that doing the right thing is sometimes hard to do. And then they introduce the evidence. Okay, the evidence is going to be the quote, but they kind of need to set up the quote so that the reader knows what's going on in the quote. So it's kind of partially summary and it's kind of partially just a setup for the quote. So you might say, Jeremy lays awake at night struggling against what he knows he should do. And you might want to say something about he's trying to decide if he needs to give those shoes to Antonio or not. And then you give the quote that proves your claim, right? We need evidence. This is like your evidence part. Okay, so you can say, on page such and such, Jeremy says, my hands are sweaty and I can feel him wishing those shoes were his. All right, so you've said, here's what I think it's about, and then you've kind of set up your quote, and then you gave the quote, and now you need to analyze and explain. Just like we did in argumentative writing, you're going to explain why that quote is relevant and how that proves your claim. So the analysis part is, it says here, synthesize the thesis, evidence, and quotation to show how they all work together to prove your thesis. Okay, for example, Jeremy doesn't quickly give the shoes to Antonio. He lays awake at night and can't sleep, and eventually he does the right thing. Okay, so that's a really simplified version of a TIQA paragraph, but they all follow that same format. And I just want to highlight the different colors here. Blue for the thesis statement, orange for introducing the evidence, yellow for the quote, and green for analysis. So if you notice the pens that you have on your table, there's one pen for each color. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at this paragraph. It's a TIQA paragraph for our story, Two Kinds. And what you're going to do is, as a group, you're going to agree together which part is the thesis, which part is introducing the evidence, where's the evidence, and what part is the analysis. And you're going to highlight those sections on your paper. Okay? Make sure that you agree together and talk as a group about what you're going to highlight and how you're going to do it. Okay, then everybody's going to highlight, and then you can pause at the end of this slide, and then when everybody's got their page highlighted, then you can go on to the last slide and you'll get to see what it should look like. Okay, so you can keep that up while you guys are working, and then this one is what it should look like at the end. So we can clearly see all the 4 parts of the TIQA paragraph, and the theme is, a theme of Amy Tan's short story, Two Kinds, is that it often takes time to discover contradictory parts of oneself. And then she has the part where she's setting up the evidence. This story traces the life of the narrator from a young child who fights with her mother to a woman reflecting after the death of her mother. At the end of the story, she's back at her parents' home, looking back at the book of songs she used to play on the piano. She notices the names of 2 songs she had practiced, one of which she played at a recital. So that's all just kind of giving, it's kind of a summary in some ways, but it's really just kind of letting the reader know, here's what you need to know so you can understand the quote. All right, and then they go right into the quote. Pleading child was shorter but slower, perfectly contented was longer but faster. And after I had played them both a few times, I realized that they were 2 halves of the same song. So that's a quote just from the last bit of the story. All right, and so now you're going to see the analyzation. So they're analyzing that quote, the setup of the quote, and the thesis, and they're explaining how that all works together to prove their point. So they say, these pieces symbolize the 2 halves of the narrator. In the beginning, she is the pleading child, arguing with her mother, resisting doing anything that will please her mom, like practicing the piano. Yet towards the end, as she's reflecting on her life and her relationship with her parents, she realizes that she was the pleading child. Yet now, after time, she's become content with herself, even though she never became a prodigy, and is content with how her relationship with her mother evolved before her death. In the end, through time and reflection on her past, she sees the two different sides of herself. All right, so that is how your TIQA paragraph should be highlighted. If you want another copy or need to make some changes, go ahead and do that. You're going to want to glue this into your sketchbook so you can have a really good example. This is a really good setup because during the next class meeting, we're going to start a new story and we're going to do the same things again, except next time through, you guys are going to be writing a paragraph like this. You're going to write a TIQA paragraph. So we want to keep a copy of this so you can have a good example to work from. All right, if class is not over yet, you have the rest of the time to read and to work on your 40-book challenge. If you read some books over spring break, please remember to write a book review for them on your blog, and also inside the front cover, write your name and how many stars you gave it, and like one little sentence about if you would recommend it or not. So if you've already turned books in, go find them on the shelves or in the book bins and see where they are and make sure you get that down. But you have time to get some good language arts work done. All right. Hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.